Every story is a door. You came here because there's a door calling your name. The orb sees everything. It knows what you need. It has chosen. I only retell. Real or fiction? I won't say. You only need to find meaning for yourself. Listen. Tonight, the orb burns with a strange, restless light. It showed me something I was not prepared to see. A bridge shrouded in fog. A man standing at the edge of forever. And a voice that should not have existed. Before I share what the orb revealed, let me ask you something. Have you ever stood at the edge, not of a bridge, but of giving up entirely? Have you ever believed, truly believed, that your story was over? That there was nothing left worth fighting for? If you have, then tonight's story was meant to find you. Because in 1962, a man named William Carter believed the same thing. He stood on the Golden Gate Bridge at 3 in the morning, ready to end everything. But then, someone spoke 7 words to him. 7 words that saved his life, and 30 years later, saved 3,000 more. But here is the mystery the orb keeps showing me. There was no one else on that bridge. So who spoke those 7 words? Stay with me. The answer will change how you see your own darkness. To understand that night on the bridge, you must first understand the man. William Carter was born in 1920 in a small town in Ohio. He was the kind of man that America built its dream around. By 40, he had everything the world tells you to want. A beautiful house in San Francisco, a wife named Margaret, 2 children who adored him, and a manufacturing company that employed over 200 people. His neighbors called him lucky. His friends called him blessed. But William Carter had a secret. The company was bleeding money. For 3 years, he had been hiding losses, borrowing from one bank to pay another, smiling at dinner parties while drowning in debt. And Margaret, the woman he had loved for 20 years. He found the letters in April, hidden in a showbox in her closet. She had been seeing someone else for over a year. William said nothing. He told no one. He simply kept smiling. Because that is what men of his generation did. They carried the weight until the weight crushed them. Then came the 6 months that destroyed William Carter. In June, the bank called the loans. All of them at once. His company, the thing he had built with his bare hands for 15 years, was seized. 200 workers lost their jobs. And every single one of them blamed William. In August, Margaret left. She took the children. She said, "I cannot love a man who has nothing." In October, his own brother refused to take his calls. By November, William Carter was living in a rented room above a laundromat, with a suitcase and a bottle of whiskey. He stopped eating. He stopped sleeping. He sat in that room for weeks, replaying every decision, every failure, every lie he told himself about who he was. And somewhere in that darkness, a thought began to form. A thought that felt like the only truth he had left. I am not a man who lost everything. I am a man who was never anything to begin with. On the night of December 14th, 1962, William Carter put on his best suit, his last suit, and he drove to the Golden Gate Bridge. 3:12 in the morning. The fog was so thick he could not see the water below, but he could hear it. The black water, churning, waiting. William parked his car at the south end of the bridge. He left the keys in the ignition, the engine still running. He walked, each step echoing on the empty walkway. The cold cut through his coat like it was nothing. The wind howled through the cables above him, making a sound like something crying. He stopped halfway across. He put his hands on the railing. The metal was ice. And he thought about Margaret, about his children sleeping in some other house, about the workers who cursed his name, about his brother who would not even answer the phone. And he thought, this is the only honest thing I have left to do. He climbed up, one foot on the lower rail, then the other, his hands gripping the top cable. The fog opened for just a moment, and he saw the water 220 feet below. He closed his eyes. He leaned forward. And then, a voice behind him, calm, steady, like it had always been there. You are not done. Your masterpiece is unfinished. 7 words. William opened his eyes. He turned his head. An older man stood on the walkway, 10 feet behind him. William could not see his face clearly through the fog, but he could feel something, a presence that did not feel like a stranger. William's voice cracked. What masterpiece? I am a failure. I have nothing. The figure spoke again. Your masterpiece is not what you have built. It is not your company. It is not your marriage. It is not the opinion of others. Your masterpiece is the person you will become after tonight. William stared at the figure. What do you mean, after tonight? The older man said nothing more. The fog shifted, thickened. And when it cleared, the walkway was empty. William stood on that railing, gripping the cable, heart pounding. The words echoed in the cold air. Your masterpiece is unfinished. He looked down at the black water. Then he looked back at the empty bridge behind him. And for the first time in months, he felt something he could not name. Not hope exactly. Something smaller, quieter. Curiosity. What if the voice was right? William Carter stepped down from the railing. He walked back to his car. He drove away from the bridge. And he never returned. William Carter did not wake up the next morning as a new man. There was no sudden transformation, no lightning bolt of inspiration. He woke up in that same shabby room above the laundromat with the same empty life. But something was different. He was curious. He got a job selling office supplies door to door. It was humiliating for a man who once ran a company, but he did it. Every morning, he looked in the mirror and said those 7 words. Your masterpiece is unfinished. 5 years. It took 5 years. By 1967, he was a sales manager. By 1970, he had started a small consulting firm. And by 1975, at the age of 55, William Carter did something no one expected. He did not build another empire. He built a foundation. He called it the Masterpiece Foundation. Its mission was simple: find people on the edge and give them 7 words. Your masterpiece is unfinished. No therapy, no lectures, no judgment. Just one human being looking into the eyes of another and saying, "You are not done yet." Over the next 25 years, the Masterpiece Foundation reached more than 3,000 people who were ready to end their lives. 3,000 people who stayed. 3,000 unfinished masterpieces that got another chapter. Now, here is the part that still haunts me. In 1992, a journalist investigated the story of that night on the bridge. She obtained the security camera footage from December 1962. And what she found changed everything. At 3:12 in the morning, the camera showed William Carter alone. Completely alone. No mysterious figure. No older man in a dark coat. No one. When the journalist confronted William, now 72 years old, he simply smiled. She asked, "Who spoke to you that night?" And William said something I will never forget. Perhaps it was my future self traveling back through time to save me. Or perhaps it was the part of my soul that I was certain had died, but had actually been waiting quietly for me to listen. William Carter passed away in 2018 at the age of 98. He left behind one final letter addressed to the world. It read, "I found the stranger from 1962. It was me. The version of myself I never believed I could become. Remember this. You always have a better version of yourself waiting ahead. But you must live long enough to meet them. So tonight, I leave you with this. You do not know what chapter you are in. The darkest chapter always comes right before the greatest turning point. Do not close the book before you reach the end. Your masterpiece is unfinished. And somewhere ahead of you, on a road you cannot yet see, the person you are meant to become is waiting."